Thank you.
Miss,
I'd like to call the meeting to order this day of November 23rd. If I could ask Bishop Larry Wright to come down and do the invocation. Would everybody please rise?
Let us pray. Father God, we thank you for another city council session. We want to thank you, Father, first for being so good to us. As you watched over our city, watched over the residents and this country. We pray that you would bless us tonight, God, as we take on the business of the people. God, that we be the voice of the voiceless and hope for the hopeless. Bless our mayor in his absence, our mayor pro tem that is guiding this meeting tonight, and city council. Strengthen our staff as they do the heavy lifting to make this the best city in the state of North Carolina. Keep all our residents safe. God, let this meeting go smooth. God, as we deliberate the agenda at hand, we pray that you give us the wisdom to lead, the knowledge, and the vision to see aforehand all the things that we need to do and to accomplish to make our city great. Bless us now, and we thank you. In the precious name of your Son, Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bishop Wright, would you like to tell us a little bit about your church and what you're planning on doing for Thanksgiving?
Well, I've been here almost 8 years. I think y'all know a little bit about Heal the Land Outreach Ministries, and we're there on 414 Hall Street, and we just, a ministry that reaches out to all that are in need, and in this case, all of us have need. We're a Christian ministry that tries to help in any way we can to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ throughout the world, to share the good news. And so whatever we can do, the Bible said that who is your stranger? And when the man on the road of Damascus, those that helped him did not know him. So I think if we could share love among one another to a stranger in need, I think we would do a great deed. And that's what we are as Heal the Land Outreach Ministries.
Thank you so much. So, as everyone out there sees that the mayor is not here tonight, so I'm filling in for Mayor Colvin. We all wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Please bear with me. This is my first time up here. There will be mistakes, so I'm going to be looking to the city manager and the city attorney and the deputy clerk the clerk, to make sure that I do everything right and keep me in line. So we're going to proceed with the meeting. So we have announcements and recognitions, and I would like to bring up Mr. Scott Buller to give us an update on COVID and what has been going on and what is for us in the future that he can tell us.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council and the audience. There was a collective kind of breath held today for the 2 o'clock press conference that the governor offered, not really knowing what to expect other than the urgency and the grave concern with kind of where the state's metrics and the national metrics seem to be headed. Out of it came a mask mandate in the form of an executive order, number 180 now, that extended the course we were on with the addition of a mandatory mask now until the 11th of December. That's probably the most succinct way to put it. There's a lot of details in there, but where masks were optional, roughly speaking, they're no longer optional anymore. This is day 253 under our state of emergency. We've got 238 days that we've been under some sort of restriction. So kind of what happened today is Phase 3 second extension got kind of interrupted and then extended out as of Wednesday night at 5 o'clock. It will become the third extension and run us into December. By now, and we've talked about this before, but there's a color coding system among all the counties now, and that's what the governor used kind of as visual aid this afternoon, where there are 20 jurisdictions that are in the red that they're very concerned about, and we fall in that orange group of about 42. Still very concerned, still substantial problems going on, but our healthcare system has done a masterful job, and in fact, statewide, 293,555 have recovered out of the 339,194 cases. So that's something to be thankful for. Another thing I think the camera will capture when I hold it up, that there is some good news, because the case curve may be going up, but the death curve is flattening. I don't know how well that produces, but one's real steep and the other's flattened out a little bit. What that proves is the treatment modalities that healthcare is using are working. Now, if we can just buy the time we need to make it to the vaccination process, which, fingers crossed, might be as early as mid-December for certain groups.
That's good.
We don't know. We're just hearing glimmers from various groups. And I want to end on a note. I can't begin to try to capture what the governor said today about how we've got to limit our gatherings for the holiday as best we can for people that are outside our household. We need to be safer at home and stay at home as much as we can and not travel about. I know some people have to travel. Dr. Coleman and his group at the airport are doing everything possible under the guidelines to protect those passengers. But if we don't have to go anywhere, then we don't need to go anywhere. And that will help stifle some of this spread. But the note that I want to end on is that tomorrow morning at Crown Center, there's going to be a food distribution by Second Harvest starting at 9 o'clock. And they will go until they run out. We want folks to enter on the Coliseum Drive side off of Owen. It'll just be one way to enter, and then they'll leave. They'll be escorted out through Mountain Drive, east or west, depending on which way they need to leave. But they will start distribution at 9 in the morning until it's all gone. So that's something, at least it's an effort towards addressing some more of that hunger that we've talked about in our community, and right here on the threshold of the holiday, it's all the more important. So subject to your questions, I'll be glad to.
Thank you so much, Mr. Brillard. Councilmember Haire has a question.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, Chief, picture this scenario and give me how to respond to this, because this has come to me on 2 or 3 occasions. I work with people every day. I have my own personal office, but I do walk through the halls, bathroom or whatever, water, go outside. I wear my mask. Okay, it's Thanksgiving time. Haven't seen my children. Love to see them. We're going to practice distance in the house. Tell the kids to come on. Please give me a response on how that should be responded to.
I'm going to share with you, and I can't quote him verbatim, but essentially what the governor and Secretary Cohen said today was simply, your household is whomever lives in there all the time. If the kids are coming to visit, then that makes them not part of the regular household. So they're that group that we want to mask both parties as we interact and try to observe all the distancing and washing our hands and so forth as we interact, right down to maybe one server for the food and those sorts of things where we limit things and limit that interaction. But I know it's hard for all different generational groups, but
Very hard.
I would urge people, it's not about what generational group you are or where your rank is in the family. If you don't live at said place, then you're not part of the household as they're considering it at the state level.
Well, I'm pushing that word out, but I want you to know, just as you said, I agree. It is so difficult because I miss a whole lot of people. I'm a big toucher kind of guy, but thank you.
Yes, sir, and this changed today at 2 o'clock. This was relatively optional, but it's not anymore. And it's going to be hard. Our retailers, our restaurants, places where their employees have to wear them 100% all the time, that's going to be a tough habit.
Yeah, it's a challenge, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Before I go to Councilmember Wright, I heard something today that was very interesting about families coming home. And what it was said was, if they don't sleep under your roof, they need to be at a different table for Thanksgiving. So it's like you have different kids' tables everywhere. I don't know how many people will abide by that, but I thought it was an interesting fact of if they're going to come, they have to sit at a different table.
I think that's a perfect analogy to make, and I know now people are starting to gravitate towards the excuse it might have a chance of rain on Thanksgiving Day and that sort of thing. We have to be creative. If you've got the little pop-up shelters and stuff that we used in the summertime, now's the time to drag them back out.
Absolutely. Councilmember Wright?
Thank you, Chief. Just have a question about the COVID tests. I see tests that are being administered online, like Facebook, and a lot of tests are given at churches, and which is good. We need more testing. I think we need all the testing that we can get, kind of stay ahead of the virus. How can the health department, yourself, and churches partner when they're doing tests at these locations, that we can get that word out more expeditiously and more people can be tested as possible? I think we're now, it's critical. You know, we're at a critical point because of the peak that we test as many people as we can. And so I think we're doing a lot of testing, but a lot of people don't know that these testings are going on.
We are, and up until this point, the health department clearly is the lead agency. Mm-hmm. They're the ones with the knowledge of where all the testing is supposed to be, and they catalog it on their website and they push it out. It's been hard for us to keep up with like the impromptu pop-ups and that sort of thing, so we refer people back to the health department, justifiably so, because they're the single point of reference for those sorts of things. I agree with you, we need more, and I think there's been some struggles with having enough supplies when they do offer these larger events, just to keep up with it, because we're seeing that on the nightly news constantly. Okay. It's not that they couldn't perform, it's just they ran out of the materials to do the testing with.
Yeah, that was my next question, yeah.
I think North Carolina's done a good job, though, of trying to keep up with that, and it's just going to be a continuous march. I mean, this is not going to let up, at least a testing piece.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Bullard, thank you very much. We appreciate you. Have a great Thanksgiving. All right. Councilmember Dawkins, did you have any recognitions you wanted to say about two?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I recall it being Tracy Broyles' birthday, our budget lady, but then again, it may have been yesterday. Was that true yesterday, City Manager? Kim Toon's birthday. And then your celebration starts in a couple of weeks. No. Okay. And then head of our FC EDC, Robert Van Giens, is today your birthday, or was it yesterday? Yesterday. Great. So I'm a day behind. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Yeah, we're getting started. Yep. Early.
Thank you, Councilmember Dawkins. Okay, so now we're going to go to 5.0, approval of the agenda. Councilmember Haire. Would you like to pull?
Yes, ma'am. I would like for better clarification. I'd like to pull.
It's okay. City Manager's got it. Okay.
Just approve the agenda.
Yeah, I move to approve the agenda.
And if I can, sir, and assist, I'd ask the council if you would remove 7.01 TA 2005.
That's fine, because I was going there next.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got a second from Councilmember Dawkins. Mm-hmm. All those in favor?
Green for Waddell.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. One more time, y'all. There it goes. Councilmember Waddell, I apologize.
Green.
And welcome. We have Councilmember Waddell on Zoom. Okay, that is unanimous with those present. Thank you.
And yes, ma'am, thank you, Mr. Haire and council members. We will bring back that item to you in a work session in early 2021.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
the
you.
DJs, it's the DAJHs and,
City manager, so I'm just trying to understand, will there still be a public hearing on that tonight or no?
No, ma'am. There will be a public hearing on the other two text amendments,
Okay.
one of which Day Resource Center, and the other one is on, and hospital overlay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Taurus.
There we go. There we go. Now click it back. Click it back. Yeah.
Okay, little technical difficulties. Thank you for your patience. All right, so now we need to go to 6.0 to get a motion on the consent agenda. Councilmember Ingram?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 6.05. I'd like to pull that for discussion. And
Can I get a second? Councilmember Kinston had a second on that. All right. If you could hold one and we'll get a vote. Okay, if everybody could vote. Councilmember Waddell?
Green for Councilmember Waddell, thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
Thank you.
that is unanimous with those present, and I guess switch mine out.
Mine in. You good? Okay.
All right, so we need to talk about item 6.50.
thank you.
Wh-
Thank you. I pulled this item. There was quite a bit of discussion, some concerns, well, I guess myself and Councilmember Haire, who initially made the motion in regards to the Fields Road site plan, about the 1.5 million that was allocated. As we kind of had discussions, we saw that the actual motion was for Fields Road site plan, but we have determined that Fields Road is not a viable site, and we are understanding of that. And and so I would like some clarification on what needs to be the next steps. Do we need to entertain a new motion to go ahead and move forward with getting staff to bring back some recommendations for the use of that funding east of the river?
Staff is here, ma'am, if it's on me, is here. But at the same token, we would look for that direction from the council as to what you would like next. Right now, the money is parked at Fields Road site development. And if you want us to do something with it, if you can provide that direction, or if you'd like for us to come back, all this does is it separates and segregates all of the money into various pots. And so until you tell us something different, that money is remaining with that name and available at that for whatever purpose council deems. But if you want us to come back with a different plan, if you could give us that direction, we'll be happy to bring that back at a later time.
Thank you, City Manager. Councilmember Haire?
Thank you. When I made this motion, I guess it's been about 4 or 5 months ago, what I would like to make clear, some clarification on it now is, because we've received all of the studies, all the detailed information concerning that location, I would like to change that clarification to say something east of the river or, within that general location, because I think also that particular night, as I began to study through the minutes, we also talked about Old Wilmington Road, and I think we talked about J.S. Spivey or something. I think we talked about lights and football field and something in that location. So instead of being specifically for this Fields Road location, since we have discussed it, we've got the studies back, we've got the environmental studies and things along that line, I think it needs to be reworded. And as maker of the motion, I would like to do that after we have some discussion.
Okay, I guess, City Manager, I'm gonna ask the question, do we need to bring out Mr. Gibson? Because I know that we had talked about, no, we don't. I guess what we just need to do is go along with the motion that we're gonna pull it for, to review it.
And if what I'm hearing is that it is for, as of course, this is part of the Parks and Recreation bond projects, sir, would an appropriate name and ma'am be for park improvements in a particular area? And
Yeah, at least, and then I don't want to take the money from the location,
Right.
From the geographical location, but the specificness of Fields Road,
Gotcha.
I want to remove that name.
I think we have enough clarity for that, Jay.
Okay? Okay.
Okay, Councilmember Ingram?
Just for clarification, City Manager, just for that clarification, what is y'all's understanding? Just for clarification.
That we are changing the name and it is now no longer specific to Fields Road. But it would have to come back to council for direction as to what and where specifically we would put what and when. And right now,
As
staff
it
is not.
relates to east of the river, District 2,
Well, the council would decide that. What the action that y'all are seeking to make tonight is a name change. If
So-
y'all are looking to specifically say that it is east of the river in District 2 or something else like that, it's council's decision to give us that direction.
Thank you, City Manager. I would like to entertain a motion that removes the location of Fields Road, but also, and going back to what me and Mr. Haire thought, Councilmember Haire thought, entertain removing Fields Road, but also allocating that money to be spent east of the river and in the geographical area.
I'll go along with that in the geographical location.
Will you second that, please?
Yes, second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Councilmember Ingram, and we have a second by Councilmember Haire. I have a question from Councilmember Dawkins.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and I do want to speak on this motion, and then I do want to speak on all the other new items, because I've got some issues with some of them, because they haven't been really vetted in a work session. So, and I'm fine with the Fields Road being removed. I wanted a little bit more specificity, such as the Mabel Smith Park, unless you all have other land areas that maybe the city would consider buying. Is that kind of the thought here, is let's take the name Fields Road out, but let's put 1.5 million, which I'm fine for doing on east of the river.
And
Okay.
what I guess what I'm asking is to bring back recommendations of how that will look.
And it would occur at the January or February work session, maybe. I mean, I guess we got to give staff time, probably March.
Yeah, give them time to do what they got to do.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Let's just give staff time to get out there, because we said in the east of the river location, that also could be from the Old Wilmington Road section up, because there's a number of, okay, so let's kind of leave it to them and not try to eat it and digest it tonight.
So, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, I'm assuming that we're going to, because that was a new motion by Council Lady Ingram and seconded, I believe, by Councilman Haire. So we got to take on that motion, and then I want to take on some of these other items here. So I'll be calling on
So,
you.
Councilmember Dawkins, if I may, go to the city manager. If we vote on this motion, that is the whole 6.5, correct?
No.
I'm asking the city manager.
You could, and I'll defer to the city attorney, of course, but you can peel this off. What I understand this being, this portion, right, we're
Okay.
talking about now, is a clarification of the name and as well as location of the $1.5 million.
Okay,
And so if there is, if whatever passes ultimately, whether it's the whole motion or subsequent many pieces of the motion, if there's consensus on changing the name as well as trying to be specific about the location, then we can make that happen in the CPOA.
So-
That's not a issue.
so this one vote will just take the name change. Okay, I just want for clarity. Councilmember Davis, would you like us to vote, or do you have something to say?
I have a question.
Okay, please, Councilmember Davis.
Is this a place where, as we have this discussion, is this gonna be an opening for the Parks and Rec to tell us based on a strategic plan what fits?
We'll be happy to come back with recommendations, probably as soon as February, Michael. With recommendations of how $1.5 million could be spent in the geographic area.
Well, and if it even matches that, I mean, he'll tell us based on what the Parks and Rec strategic plan, he should be telling us what the donut holes are.
Right.
Instead of us deciding for ourselves where we're gonna put it, and it's no,
Could I speak?
right? I
You
mean,
hit your button.
Yes, ma'am, I have.
I just wanted to,
Yes, sir, you're correct. We can do that.
Okay, Councilmember Haire?
Right, I want to, I want to make sure that we're all clear, and I think we are now, subject to what was just stated. The way that the motion was made, and we left it open that, of course, that our Parks and Rec will come back to us with what fits within the geographical location. He's going to do all the donut holes. He's going to do all the things that he's going to do to bring the information back. So I think we kind of clear. I'm good. We would like to call for a question, Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, so the motion reads that, would you restate your motion, please, Councilmember Ingram?
Yes, my motion is to change the name from Fields Road site plan to be allocating the 1.5 million to east of the river and or I guess the geographical area of east of the river, and which was seconded already by Councilmember Haire.
You good with that, Councilmember Haire? Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'll ask everybody for their vote. Councilmember Waddell?
Green.
That is unanimous. Okay, Councilmember Dawkins, you said you had,
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Jensen. Okay. I want the rest of them to go in effect to the work session in January or February, because my understanding is we parked some projects in the quote parking lot a year or so back, City Manager. We pulled some that were either too much money or were not going to fit in, and now we've had folks to add things to. So I need more info, and would make a motion to move all of the new items to a future work session. And but if that's too broad, I guess we can go line item by line item if the council prefers that.
I
Madam.
second your motion, Councilmember Dawkins.
okay, so I have a first, I have a second, I have city manager, and then I have Haire and Kinston.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. At a recent series of meetings, we came to council and said that when we were splitting up the money, council was between the sports complex, the tennis center, and other amenities, that there was money that had been left on the table, so to speak, that not all of the 35 had been allocated. And it came up to be about $2.1 million, I think. And we mentioned to council that we'd be happy to come back with recommendations about how best to spend that $2.1 million. And we presented that to the council, and those projects, there were several projects which we wanted to allocate additional money towards. One was, let's say, the Jordan Soccer Complex, where we needed additional money for some field lighting, and there were a couple of others. But there were also, as you said, sir, several newer or newish projects. One was additional improvements at the Martin Luther King Jr. Park. Do you have that list, Jay, of the, yeah. And, yes, thank you. It was $100,000 additional at Gilmore Recreation Center. Honeycutt Splash Pad was for $250,000. The county had indicated a willingness to fund the other portion of that project using district funds. There was $300,000 recommended for Montclair playground equipment. We were increasing the budget at the Senior Center East by $700,000, and we were increasing, as I mentioned earlier, the budget at Jordan Soccer Complex by $300,000. All told that, and we were proposing that $455,000 be reserved for contingency. At that meeting, when we presented those and we were asking council's concurrence to get us to tonight, there was a motion made by Councilmember Banks-McLaughlin to also fund a splash pad at Lake Rim Elementary / Recreation Center, and for $455,000. And so what is in front of you tonight is actually taking the past consensus and direction from council and establishing the project budget so that staff can move forward on these projects. There's a way, I think Councilman Dawkins and others, that if council is interested in exploring this in greater detail, that we could, with your permission, we could move forward with some of these items or all of the items, and we could come back to you with more information on any of the new items well before staff does any work. As you heard over the last several meetings, staff has been working very diligently to provide you with project schedules for the 2 senior centers, Jordan Soccer Complex, and the sports field in MacArthur, just to name a few. And we have a lot of work to do for those projects, but we also need you to respectfully ask that you go ahead and align the budget so that we have the money, and this is what this does. It puts the money in the buckets so that we can spend it. But if there's an interest in not moving forward or having additional information on any of the new projects, we can hold up any work on those until council is satisfied. But just as we did with the Fields Road just a moment ago, the money is basically parked until it is unparked or released by council. That's one option that you could use.
All right, so, Mayor Pro Tem, let me modify my motion, and then Council Lady Waddell can consider the second. But originally, the Cape Fear River Park was $5 million, and now we've got it at $3.6 million, and I can't remember what it's going to look like at 3.6. So my motion is to pull the Cape Fear River project, River Park project, to pull the Lake Rim Elementary splash pad, the $455,000, and to pull the Parks and Rec bond fund contingency. I need to understand what all that is, and I'm fine with the Martin Luther King $100,000, fine with the Honeycutt splash pad, because I know we don't have much out there. So that's my motion, Madam Pro Tem, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Councilmember Dawkins, and I will second. Mayor Pro Tem, I have my hand raised because I have a question regarding what City Manager just said. So if you'll put me in the rotation, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you, Councilmember Waddell, for telling me that. So you are okay with your second on Councilmember Dawkins' motion?
I'm fine with that.
Okay, and I will write you down. Thank you. Next, we have Councilmember Kinston.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I have a concern with the motion because I know we've had several discussions about the Montclair Playground, and I didn't hear that one being pulled, and that was one of the newer ones that we had discussed as well. So did you have a concern with that one? Okay, so can we approve, or can we make a motion to go ahead and, I think he said that one was not one that he said he was okay with initially, I don't believe. Yeah, so can we have a friendly amendment to go ahead and approve the Montclair Playground?
I think how I heard it was he wanted more information on several, but if he didn't mention those, that those were okay in the motion as well, also second. And Montclair was not one that he mentioned.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Haire? I'm good, thank you. Councilmember Ingram?
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. The first question I have is, what project did you say the county agreed to help fund?
Honeycutt Elementary Playground and Splash Pad.
And about around where is that at? That's
Michael,
like
if you could
Midtown?
come up, and, Michael.
That's at Kiwanis Rec Center? Kiwanis Rec Center?
No, this is Honeycutt Elementary. This is Fisher Road.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So my next question is, for the skateboard park, come back.
And fix your collar.
So I like to take pictures of a lot of stuff, and just for documentation's sake. And you know, I'm not personally mad. I like to see people doing what they love and how they do it. But I also know this is skateboarding downtown is not allowed. However, a few business owners had conversations with, and I'm getting somewhere to this as far as these new projects come along with. Some business owners had some conversations with skateboarders downtown recently and said, hey, you know there's a beautiful skateboarding park right up the street, still in the downtown area. And they said, well, yeah, but it's dark and we can't see. There's no lights. So with the completion of the skateboard park, will there be lights?
We can put lights there, but one of the things that happens is all parks open and close from dawn to dusk.
Mm-hmm.
So if
As well as that's a residential, it butts a residential area.
Okay, so can I, real quick, 5 p.m. it's pitch dark, pitch black.
Mhm.
Kids still want to be outside skateboarding.
Mhm.
And if there's maybe the lights can go off at a certain time completely, but if we've set a mandate to say you cannot do this here, but we give them this big beautiful facility, and all they want to do is skateboard, let's give them some lights. You get what I'm saying? So hopefully, and I don't know if that needs to be a motion that we entertain some lights to go at the skateboard park, because what I don't want to see is these kids getting in trouble for doing just what they want to do and staying out of trouble, trying to do what they just want to do, be out the way, but they can't be out the way of the place we gave them with no lights. Does that make sense?
yes,
Okay, my next point is, does that make, city manager, does that need to be in the form of a motion to bring that back, of what that will look like?
Well, the council could definitely take that up. There are other parks, as you know, that don't have lights, and
Okay.
we've been working to try to add
Okay,
those as well.
well, I'll let you
But
work-
Michael can definitely, I think he hears you.
Okay.
And we will definitely take a look at that.
Okay, so my next part is, so I am not, there was a big push at the beginning of the year, we gotta spend the money, we gotta spend the money, we gotta spend the money. There was a big push. And somewhere along the lines, we got really relaxed about, we gotta spend the money, we gotta spend the money. So, you know, I understand wanting to bring the projects back, the new projects back, to take a look at them. But I will say, a splash pad at an elementary school ain't gonna hurt nobody. You know, these are things that benefit the community, so I just don't know if I'm okay to support holding up these projects when I've been told that we gotta allocate the money, we gotta spend the money. Am I right, though? That was the conversation at the beginning of the year.
I would think that's the way we were headed.
Okay, so, and which is why I asked the last time we had this discussion about the Parks and Rec, could we request an extension? Because I was on the understanding we got to push this money out. So, I guess it is what it is, but I understand that there are other lights that need to be done at other parks, and I respect that. Like I said, if we have mandates in place that speak to no skateboarding downtown, thank you so much.
Councilmember Waddell?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and good evening, everybody. I had been speaking with, to Councilmember Ingram, to your point, I had been speaking with Assistant City Manager Angel Wright Lanier in regards to lighting. We had talked about potentially some smart lights in that area, some that would be Bluetooth compatible and would have Wi-Fi access for the area. And I don't know where we had ended up in that dialogue, but I know that that is certainly something that we have been talking about. And so it may be worth looking back at. I think it would be a really nice amenity at the skate park. Additionally, in terms of the dollars that we're talking about, my question is, if we have this this overflow of money with no predetermined projects, and we have projects that are being partially completed. So, for example, when we talk about the MacArthur Road sports complex, we are completing that in pieces because of a shortage of funding, essentially. Why are we pulling dollars for new projects as opposed to rounding out the projects that we're working on? And I think that that complements even what Councilmember Dawkins is referring to in terms of the river park or the river walk. Why aren't we really making sure that we complete a project robustly as opposed to kind of parceling out these dollars? It just doesn't seem very congruent with trying to deliver the best product. And then also, are we considering the economic impact that the investment of these dollars is going to have? So when we talk about a river park, there's certainly, when we went to San Antonio, we all saw the investment that produced for the economy of that municipality. Are we considering that as we're doing these build outs? Because the better investment we make, the better return we're likely to receive. And you all know I've made no secret about not being a fan of the MacArthur Road location. But if we're going to move forward as a council with something, why wouldn't we take the dollars that we have and allocate them to the projects that we don't have enough funding for, instead of part and parceling out the money the way that we're proposing this evening?
Thank you, Councilmember Waddell. Councilmember Banks-McLaughlin?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Well, wait a minute, because I'm looking for the city manager or someone to respond to my question.
Yes, ma'am.
I apologize.
One of the things that staff did with the $2.1 million in overage was to try to put the money in the projects where we knew we would need some additional funding. The deal at MacArthur is what we hope is going to be a long-term agreement. It starts with a 5-year license. And one of the things that the base has discussed with us is that we don't have to make all of those improvements in the first 5 years. And we could do that over time. Doing the wagon wheels, that would be part of the sports complex, are not cheap at all, as you know. But it really is a council decision as to whether or not, because we believe that with the money we have allocated now for the MacArthur Road Sports Complex of $3.6 million, that will allow us to get, is it 6 or 8 fields, Michael? Yes. How many? 6 fields, which is enough for us to hold a tournament, correct? Yes, sir. And so the other ones, looking at $300,000 for Montclair, being able to partner with the county for Honeycutt Elementary Playground and Splash Pad, as well as still putting some money in contingency, because as careful as we're trying to budget here, we do know that there may be a need at some point in time down the road for a little bit of money in other places.
Was that contingency about $400,000? Was that what I saw?
It was at the last meeting, and then there was a request to actually fund the splash pad at Lake Rim Elementary / Recreation Center. And that is what's also in the packet tonight. That showing that is $455,000 there. And still with the 1 point.
And I guess that the conclusion of my question would be, if we are given, and I don't think we've had this dialogue enough, given where we are, particularly with the pandemic that is going on, not only in our nation, but across the globe. The investments that we're making, are they the best of the best and highest usage of this funding? And I don't believe that I'm looking for an answer for that tonight, but I just want to make sure that I continue to reiterate that, so that when we go back and we watch these meetings a year or 5 years from now, somebody can remember that Councilmember Waddell did make the point that we should be very deliberate in the types of projects that we're looking at. We didn't even open our water recreation this year. And so continuing to invest in water recreation is a great idea when we're able to utilize those things. And yes, it's good to look ahead. But if we have projects, those recreational projects, I'll pause there because I've said this before, so I won't duplicate it. But I do want to just continue to go on record as saying we need to be very deliberate in how we're going about this. And I just want to make sure that we as a council keep that in mind. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Councilmember Waddell. Councilmember Banks-McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Mr. Gibson, if you don't mind coming up, please, for a moment. And before I ask the question, these were, well, I guess you can answer, these funds were funds that were there. It wasn't allocated for anything. The last meeting that we had, we took a consensus and it passed as far as including the Lake Rim Recreation Center for the splash pad. So today I'm not understanding why we're removing it off of the project. This is in the West Fayetteville area. Currently, we don't have any splash pads in this area. Cliffdale area is one of the largest districts, well, District 8 is one of the largest districts in our city. We're constantly growing over there. Just on Hoke Loop itself, we have we have 2 churches, a recreation center, plenty of subdivisions. In fact, we're about to vote on zoning the area to continue to build over in the area. I think it's unfortunate to take away splash pad for children in an area that doesn't have a splash pad. Again, I think the nearest splash pad is right here at Fayetteville, I think Fayetteville Tech. So I'm not understanding, out of all the projects, we have a few of them that's new on there, and just out of the blue, I noticed mine is pulled. I think that this is just a way to, I think it's you guys are playing politics, and I don't think that it's fair to the citizens in our district to play politics. These children need areas to be able to get out and play, enjoy themselves. Yes, right now we do have a pandemic, but next year, who knows how things will be. This is outdoor. It's a water park. Right now, that's what we're taking advantage of, is outdoor recreation centers. So I think that it'll be great to keep that Lake Rim Recreation splash pad on the agenda. So if everybody finished, I would like to make an amendment on that motion. Did it?
You cannot make a anti-motion.
Well, I will let the city manager let me know if that's incorrect or the right way to do this.
So, City Attorney.
Mr. Dawkins is correct. You have a motion on the floor, and if he's not inclined to accept an amendment to the motion, then his motion needs to be disposed of before you have another motion.
Okay, well, I'd like to make a motion after his motion. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so City Attorney, if I am correct, I need to call for the vote, and I have no other questions. I have a first and a second. So I ask for your vote. Councilmember Dawkins, would you like to restate your motion?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Jensen. Yes, the motion is to not approve it's the 3.6 million for the Cape Fear River Park, to not approve the Lake Rim Elementary splash pad new, because I don't think, we need more info because of the possible re-engineering, I was told. And the third was the hold on not approving the fund contingency, because those are my three. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Councilmember Waddell, are you had the second on that?
Actually, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I'm going to withdraw my second.
Okay, so can I get a second? I guess my question is, Councilmember Dawkins, when we started this, it was to bring it back to a work session?
All the other items that are new to go back to a work session.
And those, the three that you had said were to go back to a work session, but when we redid the motion, you said to take them off. So are you saying to take them off to put them to a work session?
Yes.
Okay, I think we needed to make that clear, that it would go to a that was your question? Okay.
You first have to get a second point of order.
Absolutely. So Councilmember Waddell, did that clarify, or did you still withdraw your motion?
No, I'm clear. I withdraw my second.
Okay, so do I have a second for this? Okay, wait a minute, let me clear the board, I'm sorry. So can I get a second? And Banks-McLaughlin is council member, is that a second? Okay, thank you. So I have a first and I have a second. Do I have any discussion? Okay, let's call for the vote. Oh, whoops, sorry. Councilmember Waddell?
Green.
Okay. That passes 7-1 with Haire, Kinston, Jensen, Wright, Banks-McLaughlin, Dawkins, and Davis in favor, and Ingram against. Thank you. So would everybody like to take a 5-minute break, or would you like to keep going? Okay. City manager, is that okay? I'm sorry, city attorney. Councilmember Banks-McLaughlin would like to make a motion.
I think that the previous motion may have disposed of the issue, but certainly, as I understand it, you're interested in maybe taking a short break and then coming back and entertaining another motion, or did you want to do that before the break?
Would you mind? Okay, let's take a 5-minute break.
birthday, sir.
Deputy Clerk.
Y'all. All right, we're going to come back into session. Councilmember Banks-McLaughlin, I understand that you have a question and maybe a motion.
A motion. Yes, I would like to make a motion, as we just discussed with the, Lake Rim Splash Pad, for us to bring it back to our work session meeting, which is December 7th.
Is that a second, Councilmember Kinston? Okay, I have a second, and I have a question with Councilmember Ingram.
Yes, so I understand it. We are separating that item and bringing it back a lot sooner just for Lake Rim. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Dawkins?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I've got a question for staff. So, City Manager, December 7th is a week from Monday, or is it 2 weeks from tonight? Is that going to be enough time to be able to present? Because I'm told the splash pad may require some re-engineering of the site, and I know that can't be done in 2 weeks from tonight, unless some engineer, charges us a lot of money. So that's my question. Can we have it done in 2, or what's a more reasonable time that you could bring back the info?
If the desire is to have a conversation among council at December 7th, we could do that. Until council gives us the green light, we would not do any of the detailed engineering that would tell us the things about the site redesign. And I think we could probably by December 7th tell you a general location that it might go on the complex. But I think if this is a general conversation of council with staff answering questions that may come up that we may have some information on, we can do that. But as you are correct, we have not spent any time to study the site in any great detail. But if December 7th is the date council would like to bring it back for you to discuss it and ask staff questions, we can do that. But I can tell you that on the December 7th meeting, I listened to a presentation today from the airport director, Dr. Coleman, and the EDC director, Robert Van Giens, and Doug Benez, who has been before council or maybe in January of this year, and talked about airlines, or January of last year, I can't remember which. And we through that presentation today with Angel Wright Lanier, Assistant City Manager, and that presentation easily is an hour and 15 minutes. It's got 3 different parts. We're actually going to be benefited by having the airlines actually participate in the presentation discussion with council as well at the airport. So it's going to be a fairly healthy agenda, but again, if it's a conversation that the council wants to have amongst yourselves and ask staff questions, Michael, we can be ready for that.
So, Mayor Pro Tem, I'm not going to be in support of the motion. 2 weeks is just not enough time to get serious about a $500,000 expenditure that's probably going to be on the low side. As I've told the council lady, I'm willing to support it, but I want all the info. There's nothing we can do about this Wuhan except to be safe and smart and keep our social distance. And I think we're being unreasonable. It's going to be months. It could be, Dr. Fauci said may be the first time we can return to some normalcy with millions of vaccines. So I don't want our kids in these splash pads by May or June unless everybody's vaccinated. So I would rather we look at 2 or 3 months and give the staff plenty of time so that when we ask them the question, they'll have an answer we can absolutely take to the bank. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Jensen.
Thank you, Councilmember Dawkins. Councilmember Ingram?
I'm looking for this clarification from staff. So, in our last meeting, when we discussed this, it was unanimous or almost unanimous to support a splash pad going to Lake Rim, yes or no?
No.
5-4 vote, I believe.
It passed, right?
It passed.
Okay. So, had this item not been pulled, what would have happened?
We would have, and even though it was pulled, the money has been allocated to this bucket. But what
Okay.
we have not done is we have not developed a project schedule for the splash pad at Lake Rim Elementary.
Thank you. So then I'm getting somewhere with this. So Honeycutt that's off of Fisher Road, right? And that is a splash pad the county is helping putting money towards, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And we are putting money towards that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but that item is not on hold, is that right?
It is not on hold, but I do not believe, Michael, did we establish a project start schedule for that? We have not. So it is in the same pattern. You've allocated the money, it is in a bucket, and staff has not fitted into the work plan for the other projects yet.
But tonight, we went ahead and pushed it forward, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So I go back to, it's a splash pad, and from my understanding, we have 4 splash pads that were already on here. Is that right?
Michael?
In parentheses, it says 4 splash pads with a 4 in parentheses.
If I may, I think those are the ones that have already been.
Wait, somebody else.
Those are complete.
Okay, those are, okay. So, but I guess my point is, if that's the case and we all were in agreement to support a Lake Rim splash pad, we might just want to go ahead and vote to push it forward instead of bringing it back to a work session. Because if I understand pushing it forward is going to get staff to go through the work, I don't know what questions we will have at the work session for a splash pad. Now, if somebody can answer that to me, I think we just need to go ahead and say, yes, move it forward and bring back whatever you said we need to bring back for the Honeycutt splash pad.
This is a what council has done tonight is you have taken the $35 million and you put it in the appropriate
Well,
bucket.
I know what council has done.
And you've also asked us to come back at a work session, and the motion on the floor is to do that on December 7th, to answer any questions for council to have a discussion and for staff to try to answer any questions you have at that time.
Okay, so maybe I need to ask the person that made the motion. What is it that you're seeking to happen at the work session when we bring this splash pad back? What are we gonna discuss? Because if that's the case, then just go ahead and ask for your splash pad, and because it's your motion.
So, if I may, and I have you written down, that you can, so I had my name down next. So what I will say, going back to the motion that Councilmember Banks-McLaughlin has put on the line, is, as we all know, I have been very involved in the Parks and Rec bond referendum and the way things work. So this was brought up 2 weeks ago at a work session that was voted 5-4 to move ahead with it. As you can tell on the list that we have, to move something ahead and have everything done in 2 weeks when we have projects that have taken years to happen, that is a lot to ask for staff. Now, I think you got almost unanimously voted 8-1 to put that splash pad, which went completely off of policy the way that we did it, to go back to a work session to talk about how to put it on where you want it. You know, we wanted information, but to spend $450,000 on a splash pad in 2 weeks, and we don't know the lay of the land, we don't know what it looks like. You know, we've had Parks and Rec bond meetings where Michael and his staff come up and Mr. Tolan, and they say, this is what it's going to look like, so you can envision it to see that it's the right place. I think everybody here is in agreement. There's a lot of kids out there. There's a lot of people out there. We're all in agreement with that. But for us to go and tell staff right before the holidays, right in the middle of COVID, right when we're trying to get all these other things off the ground, to say, drop everything. And now I understand that we have our airport, which is one of our biggest economic drivers that we have been pushing for 6 years to get off the ground, that we're going to kind of put that to the side. So I guess what I will go back to with what Councilmember Dawkins says, I want to support a splash pad. I'm all in favor for splash pads. But to rush our staff for 2 weeks to say, you either do this or we're not going to go ahead with it, I think that's a lot that we're asking of staff. So with that being said, next in line is Councilmember Banks-McLaughlin.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. City Manager, I just have a question. I just want to be sure, just for clarity, this funding is allocated for the Lake Rim splash pad. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. With your action tonight, Mr. Tolan has capital project ordinances amendments that you have approved. And the one that is listed in your agenda package on, I think it's page 2 of 3 in your City Council action memo, the council has approved CPO 2021-21 Lake Rim Elementary Splash Pad in the amount of $455,448.
Point of order, Mr. City Manager, Mayor Pro Tem. That is not true. What we have done is referred that particular splash pad to a future work session along with the Cape Fear River Park and the Parks and Rec Bond Fund contingency. Those 3 items are not approved.
All you've done is park the money in that account. No activity will occur to spend that money or move forward with that project.
Without another vote.
Without council releasing that project to move forward.
Thank you.
If it was your intention, though, to take all of those projects and put the money aside to be allocated at a later date, that is not how I interpreted the motion. It's not how Jay interpreted the motion. And so there would be an opportunity for clarification. But to be very clear, you've established this capital project ordinance, but no expenditures will come out of it until you're released by council and council is satisfied with whatever questions you have.
All right.
Okay, so again, because that was I asked the question. So again, that money, just again for clarity, is already funded for the Lake Rim splash pad.
Yes, ma'am. You have allocated the money for the Lake Rim Elementary Splash Pad. You've established that project. But no money will be spent from it until council clears us to do so.
Okay, then my question is for the Honeycutt location, how does that work, or how does that differentiate between the Lake Rim Park, because I don't recall, Mr. Gibson or anyone coming to us, giving us an explanation on as far as how much it's gonna cost or where it's gonna be located
Yes,
or
ma'am.
anything. So I'm trying to figure out what's the difference now?
At the work session, was it, Michael? He came and he discussed the fact that, in conversation with the county, that the county was willing to fund half. And because one of the things that we've been working with the council to do is partnerships. And so, and some of you may not recall, because it predates my involvement in the city again and some members of council, but at one time, the city council asked the county commissioners to actually participate in the Parks and Recreation bond projects. And at that time, I think they declined. And so the idea of a partnership to be able to use the park district funds and this money, it seemed like a perfect fit. But the differentiation, just to be clear, since we're kind of stuck, since we're here at the moment, is that council, we have not established a date to start this project, but by establishing the project fund and putting the money in that account, then Michael and Cliff Isaacs are able to come back and start working on developing a project schedule. But until council clears us on those others, such as the Cape Fear River Park, we had anticipated starting with a landscape architect being engaged in January, but until council clears us to move forward with that $3.6 million, we will put that on hold until we've answered all the questions from council and council releases that hold.
Okay, then I have another question. That'd be the last question that I believe that I have. Okay, so why or what sense does it make to move it to a work session? If anything that we have listed on there, it have to come back to council as far as for the start date and everything, correct?
No, ma'am. At a recent meeting, we gave council the project schedules for the start of the Jordan Soccer Complex, MacArthur Road, and the senior centers, and with you putting the money in place, we've already gotten those project schedules in front of council.
Right, I know we have those start dates.
Yes,
but
but
the
we
newer
don't
ones.
have a start date for Lake Rim, and we don't have one at the moment for Honeycutt because those are new projects. And, but what we're doing for Honeycutt is that council, by putting the money in and not holding it, not asking it come back to a work session, Michael and Cliff Isaacs will develop a project schedule that will be contingent upon when the money might be coming from the county. Michael, could you come on up here, because it's too far to walk. But as he's coming up here, I think one of the things that Michael is going to have to do is actually present to the county as well to get concurrence or further concurrence on their portion of the project, and so for Honeycutt, specifically for Honeycutt. Melvin Honeycutt. And so, Michael, we don't have, could you explain again why we don't have a project scheduled start date for that yet?
Well, one of the because we haven't been allowed to go ahead and spend the money. But one of the things that we've done in the past is work with the county, and now that we have the construction management crew here, now we can go ahead and move forward because the money is not on hold. So as soon as that money becomes off of hold, then we'll work toward designing the splash pad and the surrounding areas, because we still have to go to the school system to get them to agree to allow us to put it on their property at Lake Rim.
Okay. Are you good, Councilmember?
Yes, so I would like to go ahead and make a motion. Well, city manager, what?
Okay, we have a motion on the floor already right now, and so
With
we
the
need.
date.
Okay, but we have a motion and a second right now for.
She did second?
Councilmember Kinston.
Oh,
did
okay, I
second
didn't
it,
know what
So
this-
we need to call for the vote.
Yes, I want to withdraw my motion and go for possibly, well, city manager, how much time do you think that you guys need?
It depends on the questions that we receive. The council needs to have a discussion, and that discussion can happen at a work session. And as I shared with you during the break, if the council members have questions that you're better poised to answer for them, that might be an opportunity for you to have some conversation with the council members. What we know now, and we can definitely know in December, or we can know in January, February. But the holdup to moving forward on that project are your council members who have questions, and we need to try to figure out what those questions are so we're in a better position to answer.
Okay, is it okay to ask council, does anybody right now have any questions pertaining
Okay,
to this?
we have to, call for the vote and move ahead. So, City Attorney, am I correct on that?
Yes, ma'am, but I'm not clear that you have a motion on the floor at this point.
Well, are you okay, Councilmember Kinston, are you okay with her withdrawing her motion? Okay, so now we do not have a motion on the floor, so we need to move on because we cannot have discussion without a motion on the floor.
So you're moving to the public hearings?
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me, I mean, how, now I'm totally confused. How was that, the motion taken off?
Councilmember Banks-McLaughlin, you withdrew your motion.
To go into another, to withdraw to do amendment, to take back my motion. And then I said I had a question, so it was like, it was cut off. Because that's why I said I had a question.
City Attorney,
asking
I'm
what's
gonna
the
pass
earliest-
this to you.
What's the earliest he can have a work session?
And Mayor Pro Tem, I'll be happy to meet with my staff. Given that December is right around the corner, if I were bringing this back naturally, I would not have planned to bring it back earlier than January or February. But we definitely can be ready in January, but if council so desires for us to do it sooner, we can stage a conversation for the council on December 7th. But my preference would be to wait until the first work session in January.
Okay, well, I would like,
So I guess, City Manager, my question is, there was a motion on the floor, basically for what you just said. It was withdrawn for it to come back in December. It was withdrawn. So now you're saying that we're going to do a motion for it to come back in January?
No, ma'am. The original motion that was made by Councilmember Dawkins and seconded by Councilmember Banks-McLaughlin and passed on an 8-1 vote just a
Yes.
moment ago
Yes,
said that I was going to bring back those 3 projects to a work session
correct.
without a date specific. And what I'm
Correct.
sharing now is, in my mind, I was planning to bring it back as soon as January's work session, February's at the latest. But if you would like to bring it back at a different date than January or at the latest February, then I'd be happy to take that direction.
okay, well,
Okay, so I have Councilmember Wright, Councilmember Ingram, and Councilmember Kinston.
Okay. We have gone around this almost a half an hour, and we're back at the motion that was made by Councilmember Dawkins. What I'm not understanding is why, because it's very clear. It's very clear that the money is not lost. The splash pad money has been set aside until a future meeting where we get our questions answered at a work session. The problem I have is we're trying to rush the work session and put more weight or more responsibility on the staff unnecessarily. And I think if we're going to do a good job for the citizens, we need to give our staff the ample time to do the research and whatever they need to do, even though it's a splash pad. It's involving a lot of detail that we as a council don't understand. And so I appreciate the city manager saying January, but we're going to get a splash pad. I mean, we're in the middle of winter. There's nobody going to be using the splash pad in January, February, March. And so let's give the staff the time to do the research and come back to us with proper information so we won't have to send them back again. So I would just say February is a good time frame to allow them to stretch out to do what they need to do without being pressured to give them that information that is so essential for us to make a decision as a council to spend the taxpayers' money. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Wright. Councilmember Ingram?
So, just so I'm understanding of where we are, because we've had a lot of discussion about this, and I will say, I can understand why. I can fully understand why. You know, we don't always understand stuff when it's handed to us. We don't always understand process and stuff like that. I get it. So some of the comments that are being made up here are just completely unnecessary. So what I would like to ask, just so I am clear, city attorney and city manager, this is gonna come back to us because Councilmember Banks-McLaughlin has removed her motion. This is going to come back to us in January, February frame time with the additional items as Dawkins' original motion for item 6.0. Yes, for item 6.05. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, ma'am. So no motion is needed, and you can move to the public hearing items.
Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to make a motion to move to public hearing. If, I don't need it, but let's go.
Thank you, Councilmember Ingram. Okay, we're going to move on to the public hearing. Everybody good? All right. Okay, so we are going to move on to the public hearing. Can y'all hear me? Okay. Individuals desiring to speak to the public hearings must have signed up to speak with the city clerk by name and address before 7 p.m. this evening. 15 minutes will be allowed for each side of the issue at the public hearing. Individual speakers will be limited to 3 minutes each unless by a previous arrangement a single spokesman is designated, in which case a spokesman may use the entire 15 minutes. When the city clerk calls your name, please come to the podium and clearly state your name and address for the record. You may then address the city council. When the light changes from green to amber, you have 30 seconds remaining. At the end of your allotted time, the timer will ring. And I am assuming that Mr. Freeman will present.
Yes. Taurus Freeman, Planning and Zoning Division Manager, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. Tonight we have 2 text amendments for public hearing. Our first one is TA 20-004, which is for section 30-9, which is a definition table use and additional specific standards for a day resource center. And next, after that, we have TA 20-006, which is section 30-3H 2B3, which is a revision to our hospital overlay regarding special use permits. Both items were heard by the Planning Commission in October, and they were unanimous.
I open this public hearing. Madam Clerk, please call the first speaker.
Mayor Pro Tem, we have 1 speaker for both of these text amendments. That's Ms. Kim Thomas. Ms. Thomas is not on the line, so we have no further speakers.
I close the public hearing. Councilmember Haire.
Taurus, if you would address the podium. I just want to make sure that I'm understanding correctly. This, I guess it's definition section 30, and it's mainly for definition's sake and a couple of symbols and what those symbols or alphabets will stand for within the amendment. Am I understanding it correctly?
This is a definition for a day resource center.
Yes, sir.
Currently, we do not have one.
Right.
Based on the need for that, staff, when it felt as though we needed to get something supplied, we researched peer cities, we researched our American Planning Association website, and we came up with this definition. So this is more in line to what other cities are doing and what is in line with the market standard.
Now, my follow-up question is, then since this is new to us, this is our first definition, just like many things within ordinances, the ordinances are open to change to see as they adapt for our community.
That is
correct?
That is correct.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Councilmember Haire. Councilmember Ingram.
Thank you. I would like to make a motion to approve text amendment TA 20-004-006.
I have my hand raised. This is Councilmember Waddell.
Councilmember Waddell, is that a second?
No, I have a question.
Okay, so,
You just put me on your list.
okay, thank you. Councilmember Haire, was that a second?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so I have a first and I have a second. Councilmember Waddell, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. Mr. Freeman, will this definition prevent sheltering at a day center? Does this definition restrict it from being considered also a shelter?
No, this is, I don't know if it's restricted from being a shelter, but it's for a day center, so therefore there is no overnight stay.
So it would, under this definition of a day center, it would restrict overnight stay, meaning it would not be able to be utilized as a shelter.
That is correct.
And if
Okay,
I
thank you.
can, Mr. Freeman, this also would require a special use permit for this use, and at that time, the council would be able to make modifications to that, to allow it to function as because it would be in heavy industrial, and in heavy industrial, shelters are currently permitted. Is that correct? Yes. I think the True Vine Hope Center is that heavy industrial?
I don't know if that's,
Okay.
I don't know, not familiar with the location. But heavy industrial is our most intense zoning classification.
Councilmember Waddell, are you good?
Well, I guess I want to state that I feel my concern if we were to approve this text amendment. My concern is that once we build this facility and if it contains some element of emergency sheltering, it would preclude that particular usage based upon this particular text amendment. And so that's my concern. I'm trying to think long range with how all of this would pan out. And I'm just a little concerned about how that would work.
So that is actually addressed in subsection D4. D3C, operating hours may occur only during daytimes between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. During times of declared emergencies only, operating hours may be expanded to provide overnight shelter.
That's what I'm talking about.
So it's in there.
Yeah.
So why didn't you say that?
Right.
Councilmember Waddell, is that good?
Well, let me say one more thing, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you.
Okay.
So I that still gives me pause, and I'm gonna tell you why. Sometimes I'm again trying to think long range. If this, well, I'll just pause there. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Councilmember Waddell. Next, Councilmember Kinston.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Actually, Mr. Freeman already addressed the line that I was going to refer to where it did mention except during the emergency. So thank you for that clarity.
Thank you. Councilmember Wright.
Yes, and the same with me. He did address that clause in that paragraph for emergencies. But what I want to say as well, this day center is operating as a day center, but with an option, as it said, for an emergency shelter where they could spend 24 hours. But my question would be, based upon that emergency, that it would last longer. You know, if it was a tornado or something, houses were torn down.
Yes.
Of course, we would want to use a facility like that, for long range more so than 24 hours. So do we have stipulation in there that it would be used in case of those type of emergencies, disasters? And I'm sure we could do that as a council, whoever's on the council during that time could make those provisions that facility can be used for shelter during times of disasters.
That is correct.
Is that right, City Manager?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Wright. Councilmember Davis.
They answered the question with the inclement weather situation.
Thank you, Councilmember Dawkins.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I can't support this. we have, you know, I support a day resource center, but I don't understand all these different, you know, we don't want it to be within half a mile of somewhere or 750 feet of a residential district. That's going to be hard to figure out, number one. Number two, we've been given this money and we're going to build this beautiful day resource center, and we have no idea how we're going to operate it. We have no funding for operation. Is that a correct statement, Mr. Freeman?
I can answer that question.
Okay. City Manager Hewitt, are you aware of any federal or state funding source for a day resource center that's been allocated to us?
No, sir, but.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir, if I can, there may be opportunities for us to take a portion of our entitlement funds and to actually give grants to others to run it, as we did with.
That was not my question.
I know that.
My question was, I asked you specifically, was there a operating fund set aside? And the answer is no, okay? Now, we should now pause and bring it back after 6 months worth of study. And then once we get through this Wuhan COVID, we can meet with the county, because I know, I'm trying to stay positive. We can meet with the county. This is a county responsibility for funding. And if we believe that we're going to build this $3 million facility, and then we have no for sure funding source besides our unencumbered cash that's sitting around $23 to $25 million, this is a serious concern. The county gets money every single year to do this type of activity, yet they don't consider us to have in this community a homeless problem. So until we sit down with our brethren and our sisters on the county, the commissioners, and convince them of the need for a homeless center, there's just no need for us until, Mr. City Manager, if you can, through our entitlement money, tell me that we can make this operating funding work, then that's something I can support. But I appreciate, you've got 50 different items on your plate, I know, in the last 3 weeks. So I appreciate it very much. I appreciate Assistant City Manager Whitfield, Dr. Whitfield. I appreciate your team and staff, and I hope we add some new folks to this staff. So thank you, Mr. City Manager. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Councilmember Davis, did you have something? Okay.
Listening to Councilman Dawkins talk about the need to have partnership and collaboration between us and the county leads me to one question. What's the timeline? Say this passes, what would be the timeline for construction? Potentially 24 months? Is it 18 months? Because I think that may be an opportunity to begin to have that conversation with the newly elected county officials who may be more open to expressing interest in actually supporting the homeless. And I think this opportunity gives us time to build this new alliance based on hopefully this new infusion of blood and people, ideas who want to do that. So in my mind, that's important. What is the timeline? Is it 2 years, 24 months from the time we open it, where we can begin to put this sustainability plan, as Councilman indicated, in place?
Well, I want to start by saying thank you, Mr. Dawkins, for the idea that we've been very clear as a staff, and the council has been very clear that this is not going to be a general fund expenditure from the city. General fund meaning general tax dollars, per se. When we had a group come in and talk to council about a day resource center that they actually constructed in Raleigh, they talked about how they actually used nonprofit, I think it was Catholic Charities. They spent a significant amount of time raising money to cover the gap that they knew was going to be there, and we don't have any of that yet, so you're very correct on that. I think that in conversations that we were hoping to have at the city-county liaison, Mayor Pro Tem, we were going to bring that issue back up, and because of COVID and other issues, we've not been able to do that. But specifically, Councilman Davis and members of council, the item before you is simply a text amendment that clarifies what a day resource center is and the locations in which it can go. It in no way says that we are going to take the money that we have been allocated and build one. It in no way says that we're going to buy property. That information would have to, this only allows the possibility for us to move forward. Without this, we don't have a location to cite a day resource center as it's called. So this item is just simply a text amendment. Is that correct, Mr. Freeman?
That is correct. But in the past several months, staff has received 3 different requests for similar type of facilities throughout the city, and this is something that we have been researching for quite some time from nonprofit organizations.
Okay, so I'm going to go to Councilmember Banks-McLaughlin because she's on her first round, and then I will go to Councilmember Haire and Ingram and Wright.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. We've had conversations with our federal lobbyists, and that was one of the things was mentioned. I brought up the question as far as homeless shelters, and it was mentioned that our lobbyists could look for some type of federal funding and grants that can assist us with that. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you. Councilmember Haire?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. As I go through and look at some of our definitions, I think I'm on page 1, I go back and start thinking about some of our communities and some of the large complaints that we receive. And I'm looking at the distance. I think I was okay when I thought I was understanding that we were only looking at industrial, Mr. Manager. But as I continue to go down in the definition, I see, unless I'm looking at the wrong, no, okay, I'm in the right section. We're looking at right at 700, if I'm not mistaken. Is that 750 feet within the, am I looking at the right item?
750 feet from a
In the
residential district.
Yeah, and the reason that I bring this up is because we've had some issues, concerns from communities over the last 3 to 4 months. And so that's just something that just kind of popped up in my mind. I'm pretty sure that we will continue to have those kind of concerns. So that was just.
And this is just a text amendment. You all can have the distance greater than 750 feet from any residential district.
But then you're talking about a new agenda item or a council. How would we work that out so we won't have to start?
One of the things I would ask Mr. Freeman, this still would require a special use permit, the day reciting of a day resource center.
It would require in specific districts, yes.
But it would be permitted by right in heavy industrial.
That is correct.
Okay. And so so the question for you, and I guess the Madam Attorney, is if the council wanted to move that to 1,000 feet or 750 feet or 500 feet, his question, I think, sir, is does this start over and have to go back through the process, or is council able to amend it now that they've had a public hearing for that? And depending on your answer, ma'am, Tars, what was the standard that you guys saw when you did your research?
So in our research, we seen it was varying throughout the different cities. What we did was just try to take that mean and come up with the 750. So it wasn't something that was chiseled in stone or anything for any city. So we just tried to be accommodating in that and presenting that before the Planning Commission.
Okay, so let's just say that an applicant comes forward for an application, and if we don't look at it to do any changing tonight and it stays at 750 feet, okay, then this is what they are aware of from that initial applicant information, correct?
That is correct.
Then I'm trying to see how, how's that changed? Because if we get the concerns, let's just say that, whenever it's posted, folks are going to see it, they're going to make the calls, and if you're within the 750 feet, you're going to get a letter.
So if they're within this, that is correct. If they're within the 750 feet, then it's actually permitted. So they have to be.
Oh, it's just permitted. And
that is
they don't
correct.
get- okay.
So they have to be 750 feet away from residential zone properties.
Yeah. Then I don't see where I can kind of support tonight just from what I've heard I dealt with in the past. If that already aligns you in there at the 750 and you don't even get an acknowledgement on it. Am I making, are you understanding what I'm saying?
Yes.
So correct me if I'm thinking wrong, because I don't want to do that.
So the way the code reads here, or any other day resource centers, or any transitional housing within 750 feet of any residential districts. So that's meaning that there is some separation requirements. Now, we have separation requirements for a lot of things. If you want to sell alcohol, there's separation requirements.
Yes, sir.
If we have separation requirements for transitional housing.
Yes, sir.
So it falls in line to what we currently do in our code already. Now, some of those separation requirements are within 500 feet.
Right.
So it varies. This is right here, 750 is a little bit more strict because it pushes out a greater deal. So by doing that is it cannot be within 750 feet of a residential zone property. Now, if they want to be closer, then they have to do a special use permit. So if you look at the bottom here.
So their distance or their footprint of that property starts at 750.
That is correct. So you have the property right here. They
good.
have to go out 750 feet.
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you, Taurus.
Okay, Councilmember Ingram.
Thank you. I have a few points I want to make. First and foremost, City Manager, I apologize for the small outburst my colleague made towards you. Secondly, when we talk about emergency, me and you talk about this a lot when it comes down to the, what's that, white flag night? It's at 32 degrees. It's cold outside right now, and it's probably not at 32 degrees. It's not an emergency. So I was in support of this because I know that it supports emergency standards. Here's what I need clarification on. If the city owns this, we are the ones that get to set what's emergency versus Salvation Army getting to set what's emergency and if they are operating the facility? That's my first question.
I have no expertise in running a day resource center or a shelter. And so for the emergency shelter portion, we would need someone to manage that. And depending on what contract, then that could be a criteria that the council could set when we find out a management structure for it. And so, yes, you are correct in that regard. I would, if I could, did you have another question, ma'am?
Go ahead and wrap it up, and then I'll get to my next one.
Okay.
Not to say that in a rude way, but go ahead and finish
Okay.
what you're saying, and I'll get my.
One of the things I also wanted to do was the page that Councilmember Haire was on about a day resource center. The definition is a daytime support center that provides services to members of the community. Such services may include counseling, guidance, vocational training, and life skills training. It may also have hygiene facilities such as showers and laundry machines. And so, absent the hygiene facilities and shower and laundry machines, that could be what is currently the services offered out of DSS, a mental health. And that is, I think, what Taurus was looking at when they talked about the distance requirements. And it is only, as you mentioned earlier, occasionally during an emergency would it be potentially an overnight shelter. And so this just establishes the definition and allows that in your most intensive zoning district, which is heavy industrial, that it can go in there by right And the distance requirements are still in effect, 750 from a residential.
Okay.
And so that thing addressed Mr. Haire's concern that he raised a few minutes ago. So in any circumstance, it's 750 feet away from any.
Thank you. Just, okay. Just two more points. Salvation Army, it's in my district. It's off of Russell, but it sits on Anderson or Cool Springs, one of the two. But I can walk right into a neighborhood, right? So is that within 750 feet distance or so? But I don't hear citizens complaining about Salvation Army, or I must be, am I right?
That is, I've not heard complaints about that location.
So seeing that I believe I made the motion to approve TA 20-004 for the definition of the day center, and it was seconded already. I would like to call for the vote.
We still have did we have, and we had a second on that?
Yeah, we did.
Who seconded that? I'm sorry. Councilmember Haire, okay.
And so the actual public hearing was on two text amendments, 04 and 06, and I'm not sure if that was the portion of her motion and Mr. Haire's as well, which was to approve the day center definition as well as the modifications to the hospital overlay.
Is that correct, Ms. Councilmember Ingram?
I'm so sorry, City Manager, could you repeat that?
Yes, ma'am. The items on the floor are two. One is TA 04.
Okay.
And the other is TA 006.
So would you like me to amend and just go ahead and add 006 on there as well?
That would.
We got to go through the hearing first, though.
We've had the hearing.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So I'll go ahead and amend. So I would like to amend my motion to.
Mayor Pro
Somebody
Tem, I
talking?
believe, according to the clerk,
Yes.
her motion included both.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So, I have a question. She has called for the vote, but I have Councilmember Wright that would like to say can he?
If you have, you can call for the question after everyone has spoken in the first round. And so if everyone has spoken or Mr. Wright is saying he no longer has an interest in speaking.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Wright. All right, let's call for the vote. Councilmember Waddell?
Red, thank you.
Okay, and those four are Ingram, Kinston, Jensen, Wright, Banks-McLaughlin, Davis. Those opposed are Haire, Dawkins, and Waddell. All right, we will move on to 7.02. I'm sorry, yes, that's correct. Do I need to open up?
Did Councilmember Waddell, I thought her vote was in favour.
It was red.
It was red, I'm sorry.
Mayor Pro Tem, Mayor Pro Tem, Mayor Pro Tem. The lights are not on.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and members of City Council. My name is Alicia Moore, Planner 2 with Development Services Division of Planning and Zoning. Tonight, I am presenting on the proposed neighborhood plan for the Central Campbellton area. This plan was presented at a public hearing before the Planning Commission on October 20th. After review and discussion, the Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval. This map provides an overview and boundaries of the study area, which had traditionally been known as B Street, the name of the central corridor. The change from B Street to Central Campbellton is part of a broader strategy to address the neighborhood image, the perception that people carry, to separate it from the negative ideas that have attached to the neighborhood over the years. As one of the oldest neighborhoods in the city, it has a walkable grid layout, a benefit you don't find much elsewhere in the city. It's situated between downtown and the Cape Fear River. The neighborhood sits as a gateway to the city. Also, among its key features, natural waterways, as well as trails, parks, and additional assets to the neighborhood. Ultimately, the goal for this neighborhood is to be an exemplary one that embodies the city's vision as stated in our strategic plan. Towards that end, the plan determines and analyzes current conditions and issues and concludes with strategies to implement sustainable and practical enhancements within the neighborhood. And although we started writing this version of the plan in 2018, city efforts for revitalization have been in the works for years, from studies conducted within the department to partnerships and collaborative efforts with local groups like the B Street Coalition, Habitat for Humanity, Urban Ministries, to name a few. We even have studies of the area that go back to the 1960s. So this plan didn't quite start in 2018, but is the culmination of the efforts of many people over many years. So starting with the identification of the current conditions. To identify these current conditions, one of the important ways is that the city gathers information is directly from the community. So after reviewing the research and the past revitalization efforts, the city reached out to form a neighborhood plan working committee. Residents and other local stakeholders were invited to participate in this working committee to facilitate a dialogue among the members of the community and with the city. Over the course of 5 months and many meetings, the working committee members raised issues that included housing, both availability and quality, blight, high crime rates, particularly drugs and prostitution, neighborhood image, that is the perception of the neighborhood that people carry, homelessness, sanitation, as well as a lack of sidewalks and other pedestrian infrastructure, which is particularly important to this neighborhood, given that over 1/3 of the residents don't have access to a personal vehicle. Another important way of identifying current conditions is through statistics and census data. Here we used the most recent census data available, which is the American Community Survey, or ACS, covering the 5 years from 2014 to 2018. As the map shows, the study area outlined in red is mostly contained within this northern corner of Census Tract 2, shown in yellow. And the data from Census Tract 2 was then compared to the broader geographies of the city, county, state, and nation. The plan has several sections that cover this data, so I've only included a few here. As to family households, there's a low percentage of married couples and a high percentage of single-parent households. The percentage of households with a female householder, children, and no husband present was 24%, compared to 10% in Fayetteville and 7% nationally. For education, the percentage of residents without a high school diploma was 25%, compared to 8% in Fayetteville, 12% nationally. Car ownership, as I mentioned before, 37% of residents reported that they did not have access to a personal vehicle. The table at the bottom shows a stark economic difference compared to the other areas. For example, the median household income in Census Tract 2 is less than 1/3 of the median income within the state of North Carolina. The percentage of people living below the poverty line at 56.4% is also several times higher than any of the comparison areas. Based on the information distilled from community engagement and other data collection spanning the many years of research and planning, we created categories of neighborhood needs, shown on the left, and opportunities to address those needs, shown on the right. The top needs identified are summarized as public image and safety, housing, both affordable housing and market rate housing in a variety of types, connectivity, meaning both physical infrastructure and social connectivity as a community, and economic stimulation and investment through public programs and private investment. Based on the area's assets, combined with available and potentially available resources, numerous opportunities were identified to address these needs. Most of the opportunities listed there address more than one of the identified needs. For example, improved image of both perception and appearance addresses not only public safety and image, but also supports connectivity and economic investment. Programs and events for families could provide things that help those single-parent households, allowing parents to pursue professional or educational opportunities, as well as helping kids be successful in school and stay out of harm's way. With these objectives in mind, we turn to the implementation strategies. As part of implementing the strategies, it will be crucial to make sure that any steps taken are in harmony with the existing and approved plans. This plan in particular has a lot of overlap with the downtown urban design plan. It's also critical that implementation is coordinated among the various agencies and city departments that are involved, so that we can be sure we're doing things efficiently and in sync with each other. And just as stakeholder engagement has been important since the beginning, it remains important that the community is involved in the implementation, that we use the available tools of communication to make sure that we are planning with the community and not just for them. The implementation strategies are broken down into these 7 areas of focus. Each area comprises a list of strategies that range from ones already in progress, for example, efforts to fund and build affordable housing and crime prevention techniques like Community Watch, and others that are still in the concept phase, including the use of specific equitable development tools or the implementation of a complete streets policy that puts equal emphasis on the pedestrian and the bicycle experience to the driver's experience. We've devised a detailed spreadsheet work plan that includes each strategy, the responsible department, and its status. For example, ongoing or concept. That work plan is a live, fluid document. So, as I said, there are a lot of concepts on there. They may go through, they may not. Things can be added, things can be taken off. So I'm going to single out just one of these areas of focus: public safety, image, and community empowerment. One of the reasons why I'm singling this one out is because it is so complex in the connection. So the police and residents have stated that when the police are present in the neighborhood and working with the community, they notice improvements. However, these improvements tend to lessen and the situations return once the police leave the neighborhood. One of the suggestions here is that crime prevention is a shared responsibility, and that these residents need to feel and be empowered to help maintain the neighborhood. So how do we achieve this empowerment? There are 2 components: social and physical. To support the social component of empowerment, the focus is on community adhesion and community pride so that the residents actually care and are united in their efforts. In turn, these ideas, adhesion and pride, are facilitated by opportunities for residents to engage with each other and feel connected to each other and to their neighborhood. This is achieved through community events. For example, events or skills building to help single parents care for their kids or to help people develop skills and confidence to secure employment. The physical component, that's about the actual environmental design, the experience of being out in the neighborhood. When walking around, does it feel safe? Is it an attractive place? This is a concept that the police department emphasizes called crime prevention through environmental design, or CPTED. And it's about whether the residents it's also about whether residents actually see the community as their own, as an extension of themselves. In this way, things like public art, where the art is designed and implemented by the community itself, becomes important. People will recognize the painted crosswalks that perhaps they helped design and that their children help implement. Crosswalks are important not only because they promote safety, but because they signal to pedestrians that we care about their safety and experience. This speaks to the location and the placement of crosswalks, as well as their design. And as I'll show you on the next slide, there aren't many well-designed crosswalks in the area, despite the number of people who walk, either by choice or by lack of access to a car, and the great potential the area has for walkability due to its grid layout. Crosswalks are needed not only at intersections, but also where there are long blocks, they're needed mid-block. Crosswalks also present a perfect canvas for public art. Crosswalks can be pretty, they can be engaging, they can be a reflection of the people. When the community is involved in the design and implementation, the crosswalks provide a sense of pride in place. Moreover, as an actual gateway to the city, these decorated crosswalks add distinction to the neighborhood as a community and as a gateway into Fayetteville. This is a snapshot just of a section of Central Campbellton. You can see that this section of Person Street is multiple lanes wide in both directions. There's a turning lane in the middle. Russell Street and over on Eastern Boulevard are also multiple lanes wide. And looking at this image, the question is, where are the safe places to cross the street? Here. These are the only well-marked crosswalks. And the point of this is to illustrate that the pedestrian experience isn't exactly welcoming. It says that this is a place to be driven to on your way someplace else. This is not a destination. This is not a place you want to walk around. On the other hand, decorated crosswalks have all these benefits of providing safety through visibility, promoting a distinctive community, promoting community pride, and as opportunities for artful expression. This one on the left is an example of one of the many that the Cool Spring District has implemented. And they serve as a great example that adds colorful expression and distinction. The ones on the right are examples from other cities, and there are infinite ways that we could use this opportunity. So now I'll briefly go over how the Central Campbellton Plan fits within the city's existing strategic plan, as well as some of its other plans. So as you can see, there are 5 goals and several objectives that this plan speaks directly to. I'm not going to read each definition, but there's a lot. And these are a couple of the plans that are already existing and have been approved that the Central Campbellton Plan aligns with and also supports. For example, the future land use map and plan, it's in direct alignment with 5 of the stated land use goals, fostering safe, stable, attractive neighborhoods, strategic economic development, reinvestment in distressed neighborhoods, improved gateways. And one of the goals in that future land use map and plan also specifically references that CPTED, crime prevention through environmental design. The downtown urban design plan, as I mentioned, that has a lot of overlap with this plan, particularly the rezoning potentially of the downtown plan has a concept of a 2-tiered downtown district, and that second tier would extend through most of the Central Campbellton area. The Parks and Recreation Master Plan also speaks to connectivity and making repairs, and the Central Campbellton area does have a lot of really beautiful access ways to nature. They just need a little TLC. The Fayetteville Area Metropolitan Planning Organization also has several plans that are applicable to Fayetteville. And the pedestrian and bicyclist plan, for example, has a lot of strategies that explain safe crossings for pedestrians and bicyclists. So with that, we come to options and recommended action. The 4 options are adoption of the proposed neighborhood plan, denial of the proposed neighborhood plan, recommend revisions and adoption of the proposed neighborhood plan, or remand all or some of the proposed neighborhood plan back to staff for further information. We recommend approval of adoption of the proposed plan. So again, these are the options on the left and the recommended option on the right. And if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
So thank you very much for that presentation. It was a great presentation, and we've all learned a lot from it. I personally want to thank staff for doing this. I know that it has been even when I first got on council, this area has been talked about. We have been working very hard, so it's very nice to see what is in front of us tonight, that we are here to be able to vote on it. So that was my thank you to you for a lot of years of work going into this. So with that being said, I'll go to Councilmember Ingram.
Thank you. Ms. Alicia, so I'm going to read something, and then I'm going to ask some questions, okay? Great presentation, by the way. So you expounded on walkability a lot, right? And I know why. So I'm going to read this. This is from the actual plan. It says, Greenways, economic and social benefits. When planning and implementing greenways, leaders should
Excuse me, Mayor Pro Tem. So perhaps it would be better to open the public hearing and then.
I apologize.
Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry. I apologize, Councilmember. Madam Clerk, I open up the public hearing.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Thank you.
We have no speakers for this item.
I've closed the public hearing. Thank you.
And now back to Ms. Ingram.
I apologize, Councilmember Ingram.
All right, so as I was saying, you expounded on walkability, and I would like to read something that stood out to me the most before you even explained why, and we had a meeting about this, Greenways, economic and social benefits. When planning and implementing greenways, leaders should do so with the potential for social and economic change in mind. Beyond their aesthetic, health, and environmental benefits, greenways are increasingly being recognized for their power to spur economic growth, empower local residents and businesses, and connect communities. For example, when people are deciding to live, work, invest, and attend school, an oft-cited attraction is the availability of greenways. Increasing costs, health concerns, and still other changes associated with COVID-19 pandemic have fueled the migration of people and businesses away from big cities to smaller cities when urban-type amenities are accessible. In cities outside of tech destinations, like Fayetteville, districts are popping up as hubs for technology and innovation. Companies coming into these spaces need to attract talent and employees, and much of the potential pool will look for vibrant outdoor and the ability to get around without a car. When cities can provide that and connect different neighborhoods to tech or other job hubs, they encourage a bustling workforce and stronger economy. The city of Fayetteville should plan to absorb some of this migration, particularly from the Raleigh-Durham Chapel Hill Triangle area. The neighborhoods of Central Campbellton, formerly known as B Street, and the downtown area provide particularly potential to attractive destinations. Given the walkability and proximity of the transit hubs of Amtrak and the city's fast depot. And I want to go down to, which is going to be my leading question, increasing attractiveness of neighborhoods to potential stakeholders can have unintended effects, principally displacement and gentrification. To mitigate these effects and ensure that current community receives benefits of greenways, city policies must continue to strengthen workforce development and access to affordable housing. So I say that to say this. I think we are on, as you said in your presentation, everything that we are doing is alignment with this. This even overlaps with our downtown urban design plan. This also falls within a opportunity zone, which helps that community to funding more so. So I want to ask, my first question is, when it comes down to gentrification, I know that a lot of homeowners that live in the B Street area, they own their homes, but those that do not own their homes are typically the ones that are bringing the activity that hurts the community there. So when we look at policies, what policies do we have in place or should we implement to help those who are, and I think I explained this in our meeting, what policies should we look at when it comes down to gentrification and displacement? That's the first one.
Okay, well, that's an excellent question, and it's a lifelong planner's challenge to address the question of how do you balance improvements in the subsequent attractiveness of a neighborhood with displacement of current residents due to increased demand. And to address that, there are policies that protect particularly vulnerable populations. You mentioned renters, for example. And one thing that cities can do is incentivize affordable housing. That is, create incentives for developers to set aside a certain number of units for people below a certain AMI or local residents, that is, to give preference to lease renewals over creating new leases. Similarly, in terms of a workforce, there are many tools known as equitable development tools. And one of the functions of equitable development is to give preference to the local community when looking for people to hire, whether those are people for the short-term construction of the building, of the site, or for long-term, depending on what the actual business is. And in that way, you do get to protect the people who are there, and they don't get kicked out just by market pressures.
All right, thank you. And with that, I would like to go ahead and make a motion to approve the Central Campbellton neighborhood plan.
Is that a second, Councilmember? Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. We have a second. Councilmember Banks-McLaughlin, I had you next to speak. Would you like to speak?
That was a great presentation. You actually just answered it. One of my questions was as far as how can the city be able to help with job creations, because I think that's one of the main things where we have or see a lot of poverty in the area. So you just kind of spoke a little bit about that as far as the equitable development. So thank you.
Councilmember Davis? You ready to vote? Okay. So if I could get everybody to vote. Councilmember Waddell?
Green, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
All right. That is unanimous with those present.
And I want to say thank you all that have worked to make this happen. We greatly appreciate it in the B Street community.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go on to 7.03.
That's it. I get to see some of the game.
Mayor Pro Tem, tonight, this is the evidentiary hearing portion of our agenda for tonight. Tonight, we have one special use permit case that will be presented by the applicant with the actions to be taken by the City Council. Craig Harmon is acting as our professional planner for the City Council today. Also, City Attorney Karen McDonald will be advising the board on legal and procedural questions. Next, we have the swearing in of our participants. Each person is intending to present evidence or testimony is asked to now swear or affirm their testimony they are given that is true. In Fayetteville, we ask that professional planner who are providing an overview preview of the case and have prepared a staff report, and anyone who may be presenting competent material, substantial evidence to the City Council to provide sworn testimony. Anyone planning on speaking due to evidentiary hearing, please stand and be sworn in by the City Clerk.
If you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
I need to open, do I need to open up the hearing now?
No, he has to make a presentation first.
Still going.
Still going.
The City of Fayetteville City Council collects the evidence associated with the special use permit through evidentiary hearing. There are 8 standards for the applicant to address to demonstrate how the use or activity will be appropriately fit in the particular location requested. These standards become the findings of facts for the quasi-judicial decision. The burden of presenting sufficient evidence to meet standards rests with the applicant. The parties of this case are entitled to an impartial board. Any city council member or mayor may not participate in this evidentiary hearing if he or she has a fixed opinion about this matter, a financial interest in the outcome of the matter, or close relationship with the affected person. Does any board members have a particularity to disclose or recuse to offer? Is there a conflict of interest? Hearing none. The property is located at 517 Lamont Street. The City Council will listen to all testimony before asking specific questions to clarify the evidence presented. The final action will be based on sufficiency of the standards being met. A simple majority vote of the City Council is required for the final vote to approve for approval or approval with conditions, remand the applicant back to the Zoning Commission for further consideration, or deny the request. Craig Harmon will now present the case.
Evening, Mayor Pro Tem and members of council. Give me just a second to figure out which one of these this case before you is case P2036F. The applicant is Mr. Dave Adams, property owner is Peggy Harkey. This is a special use permit request for a telecommunications tower on a piece of property currently zoned heavy industrial. Properties at 517 Lehman Street. It's approximately 13 acres. It is in District 2. And the Zoning Commission did recommend approval. This is a little different than most telecommunications towers that we get coming through here for a couple of different reasons. One, this is not a cell tower. This is a tower receiving television signals, and the applicants can explain to you when they testify what exactly that means. The other big difference with this one is typically with a cell tower, we're looking at a tower that's somewhere in the 200-foot range. This tower will only be 79 feet. So you'll see from the pictures as we go through here that most cell towers, tower above the trees. This will only come to about the same height as the pine trees and others right surrounding this. Just to give you an idea of where the property is located, out here we have the intersection of Grove and 301. Sandpiper Seafood is here on the corner. This is back in that area. The tower itself would be located right about where my cursor is showing you right in here. You'll see a little detailed plan of it here in just a moment. The property is currently zoned heavy industrial. Our land use plan, although it's zoned heavy industrial now, looks at it as office use. There are industrial uses already on the property currently. And this is how the property sits right now. The picture on your left back here in the back would be where the antenna is planned to go. And then this is the building that MetroNet currently has on the property. These are just a couple of photos of some of the surroundings. The top left is directly across the street, and then just to the west of this property through the woods is another little residential area as well. These are the two renderings of what the tower would look like if constructed. Again, it'll be about tree height. There's not a whole lot of difference between the two angles here because it's just trees back there. And then again, we saw their main building in one of the photos a while ago, and the wood line, and this right here would be the little tower compound with the little circle in the middle being where the tower would be located. Again, Zoning Commission and staff have recommended approval of the special use permit. The tower would be located in an industrial area. It's away from other development and separated by a thick stand of trees. There is a condition listed in your packet of just following the site plan, some of those general conditions that we typically do. The proposal, as far as we've seen so far, seems to meet all of the use-specific standards listed in your packet, and the proposal seems to meet all 8 findings of fact. Those conditions that I mentioned a moment ago would be compliance with the attached site plan, final approval and review of the TRC committee, and the applicant has worked with staff to slightly relocate the tower so there are no setback reductions that are needed for this particular one. That concludes the staff's presentation. I'd ask if you have questions of staff to hold those till after the applicants have presented their case, because they are likely to answer what you would have asked us and are more qualified probably to answer the technical questions if you have any. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, if you would open the public hearing.
Thank you.
Evidentiary hearing.
I open the public hearing, Madam Clerk. I'm sorry, I have everybody talking to me. What?
Evidentiary hearing.
An evidentiary hearing? Okay, we didn't go over that one. I apologize that. So, Madam Clerk, will you please call the first speaker? Am I?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. We have 3 speakers this evening, all speaking in favour. When I call your name, gentlemen, if you would approach the podium and address the City Council, and please state your name and address for the record. And we have no time constraints for this item. Our first speaker is Mr. Will Hubbard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem and members of the council. I'm Will Hubbard of the Wake County Bar, and I'm here representing the applicant of this special use permit. The owner of the property now is Metronet. It's a fiber internet company, and they need this tower and the special use permit in connection with their business. I'd like to introduce Dan Neppel. And yeah, Dan, why don't you stand back there? And Dan Neppel is here as a witness here, and he's the vice president of outside plant construction for Metronet. Also in attendance is Eddie Massengale. He's probably not going to speak unless there's a specific question that the council may have for him later. I'd like to start by respectfully requesting the Mayor Pro Tem and Council to take judicial notice of the City of Fayetteville Unified Development Ordinance, the 2040 Comprehensive Plan and Future Land Use Plan, since those are the standards that we have here today. I'd also ask that the entire packet prepared by the planning staff be entered into evidence.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'd also like to call now Dan Neppel as my witness. Mr. Neppel, can you give your name and address for the record, please?
Certainly. Daniel Neppel, and my address is 1105 Northview Drive, Erie, Colorado.
Thank you.
And council, I have some slides, but I also have a notebook that you have with you. And the notebook, if everybody could turn to Exhibit 1. Mr. Neppel, are you familiar with the first 3 pages here of Exhibit 1?
I am, sir. That's my resume.
Is that a true and accurate copy of your resume?
It is a true and current, accurate copy of my resume.
Okay, and if you wouldn't mind summarizing your educational experience for the council?
Certainly. I'm a degreed engineer in civil and construction engineering, degree from Iowa State University, and I'd like to continue with my experience.
Yeah, well, how many years of experience do you have in network planning, development, and deployment?
I've been active in this field in telecommunications, construction engineering for 33 years.
And after you graduated with an engineering degree, if you wouldn't mind summarizing your work experience in that 33 years?
I certainly can. So immediately following graduation, I went to work for Kiewit Network Technologies and filled various roles with that company, starting at some entry levels and moved up to vice president of construction for the company. While there, we did a number of different telecommunications type projects. We built long-haul networks, we built citywide networks. We did a number of projects for the federal government in the security arena. We built some electronic toll collection systems that are still in use today. And we built a large number of cell sites in the initial Sprint deployment.
Approximately how many towers have you been involved with over your 33 years?
I've been involved with roughly 750 towers.
Okay, and what's your current role at Metronet?
So currently my role at Metronet is similar in fashion to that. Although we're building fiber to the home networks, my teams are the construction and engineering teams who design and build the networks, the hut sites, the receiving antenna towers, and deploy the network throughout the communities that we serve. Currently responsible for multiple projects in 5 states, including North Carolina.
And including the Fayetteville area?
Including the Fayetteville area.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to offer Mr. Nepple as an expert witness concerning network planning, development, and deployment.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Nepple and council. Let's see here. Turn to the last page of Exhibit 1.
Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with Exhibit 1?
I am familiar with this slide, and I prepared this slide for this presentation. This is to address the first of the 8 questions. And in this particular case, there's a global question whether or not we comply with all the standards of Section 30.4C. There's specifically a section within that that's about the telecommunications facilities. And we went through point by point and ensured that we were in compliance with each and every one of the requirements with our staff, my engineering staff, as well as our professional engineer who completed our design and certified it. We also went through it with the city staff, and I'm certain that we're in compliance with all these sections. What I wanted to do on this slide was simply point out some of the primary items that are probably on someone's mind. First of all, safety. One of the requirements for the city of Fayetteville is that our pole has been designed and stamped by a registered professional engineer in the state of North Carolina, which it has been. There's a secondary part to that, which is that on a regular periodic basis, there are different structural review requirements in the future years, and I'm certifying that we will comply with those as well. As mentioned earlier, the standard in Fayetteville is to allow towers no higher than 450 feet above ground level. The pole that we're asking for our antennas is 79 feet above ground level. It's already located in a heavy industrial zoned area, which makes it compatible with the use of the area. It's located in such a fashion as to have the minimal adverse effect on the surrounding community. It's necessary for us to provide the services that we want to provide in Fayetteville. The purpose of this antenna tower is to receive the over-the-air transmission of the local television stations and to be able to put that programming on the service that we want to provide to the citizens so that they can see the local channels, they can watch the local news. That's the purpose of the reception antenna. We're not transmitting anything. It's purely receiving the television signals, just like a lot of people have on their houses or on a pole in their yard, to put an antenna on there to receive the transmission from the local television stations. That's all we're doing. The pole is a monopole, which is preferred per your standards, and it will not diminish or disturb any reception from anybody else. So this antenna will not have a negative impact on anyone else's ability to receive any kind of signal, let alone the television signals.
Mr. Nepple, do you recognize Exhibit 2?
Yes, I do. This is another part of the standard. This is the answer subsection 4.C.5 of your standard, which is to provide an illustration of the facility and the visual impact on the surrounding area. As we've discussed previously, if the staff presented, the pole that we're looking at, the antenna receiving pole, is fundamentally surrounded on two sides by these trees, and the height of the antenna is fundamentally about the same as the top of the tree line.
And Mr. Nepple, can you describe for council what is here at the top of this array? Can you describe this array at the top of the pole?
I can. There's some antennas, UHS and VHF antennas there, as well as grounding, so basically lightning arresting systems at the very top to collect any lightning that would hit it. And then down at the bottom, you see a small cabinet within the fence compound, and that is the lightning arrestor.
Okay, Mr. Nepple, can you turn to, and council, please turn to Exhibit 3. And this was shown by staff, but we wanted to point this out again. Can you describe for the council where this is located? Is it right here?
That is correct. That is a location in the back corner of the existing fenced area where we intend to place this antenna pole.
And is this bubbling area, is this a tree buffer?
That's correct.
And are there also trees in this area?
There are trees, yes, all along both sides of that, yes.
And on this part of the property over here, what's located beyond the trees?
On the other side of the creek is the sanitary sewer system, sewer plant. And then
are there any other safety measures here designed for the pole location?
Well, the pole location, number one, aesthetically, it's a good spot for it. But number two, due to the height of the pole, even in a total failure, it wouldn't land in any place that would cause further problems. In fact, it won't even hit our existing building there.
Is there fencing around this pole?
The plan includes not only the existing fence around the storage yard that's already in place, but a secondary fence around this antenna pole compound per the code, and then there's another one up in the front of front of the property where we will be placing our telecommunications shelters.
All right. Are you familiar with Exhibit 4?
I am familiar with Exhibit 4, and this is to answer the second of the 8 questions. So this is about the characterization of the surrounding properties and our compatibility with that. So certainly the use is in line with the existing character of the neighborhood. We're in a heavy industrial area with mixed use surrounding it and limited areas of residential, which we will come to later on the effect on those. The installation of the monopole in this location is quite similar to the monopoles that are used to carry the high voltage transmission lines on Eastern Avenue, just slightly east of our facility.
That brings me to Exhibit 5. Do you recognize the photograph in Exhibit 5?
I do recognize that photograph. I took this as a snip out of Google Earth Street View so that we could identify the location. This is close to what would be the equivalent of 423 Bevel Street in the street. And as you can see, off in the distance to the east, there are some large monopoles that are used by, I assume, PwC or another electric provider to carry transmission of power. And those poles are actually quite a bit taller than our 79-foot proposed tower.
Are you familiar with Exhibit 6, Mr. Nepple?
I am, and
What's
that is a view of our current facility from that same location at 423 Belleville Street. And the antenna pole that we're contemplating, that we're asking for approval for, would be back behind the building, and fundamentally the front, the height of it would be at about the tree line that you see there. As you can tell, the existing local power lines fundamentally from the distance look about the same size.
Are you familiar with Exhibit 7?
I am. Again, similar situation. I took a snip from Google Earth Street View. This is at the opposite corner, so the kind of the southwest corner of our property, or right on the street out there at Lehman and B Street. And again, this is where you would see the location of the tower. I've etched it in there in a highlight to show what it would look like. It's fundamentally at the top of the tree level. And in fact, if you'll notice the power lines that run across the top of this picture, they're on poles that are 40 foot tall. Our pole's 79 feet tall. The difference being the existing poles are 20 or 30 feet away from this intersection, as opposed to our proposed location roughly 350 feet away.
Are you familiar with Exhibit 8?
I am, and this is the surrounding community at that same intersection of Lehman and B Street, looking the opposite direction. You can see there's a number of utility poles and some industrial operations there. I believe those are city operations as well.
So in summary, is the special use compatible with the character of surrounding lands and the uses permitted in the zoning districts of the surrounding lands?
That is my belief.
Exhibit, are you familiar with Exhibit 9?
I am. This is a slide that I put together to answer the third question on the list.
Does the special use avoid significant adverse impact on surrounding lands regarding service delivery, parking, loading, odors, noise, glare, and vibration?
It does, in fact, meet all of those objectives. And what this picture is meant to represent is the circle with the radius indicates the 79-foot height of the tower and the fall zone if there was a complete failure of that pole, which of course there won't be. The indication here is that obviously it's not going to interfere with any of the street traffic. It's not going to interfere with any service delivery. Even to our own site, you can see where the driveways come into our own site. It won't interfere with any of that. It couldn't possibly interfere with any of that. Also, I'm here to tell you that there are no odors produced by this, no noise. It's a receiving antenna. There's no significant glare. There's no vibration, and it meets all of these requirements.
Is there any noise or odor or anything like that?
There are no noises produced by it. There's no odor involved at all.
What about guy wires?
This is a monopole, so they're not required. This is not that type of tower. It's not a guide tower. It's not a lattice tower. It is a monopole, which is a single pole. It's self-supporting, and it doesn't require any guys or anything like that.
What about any lights?
There are no lights required by FAA, and we have no plans to have any lights in particular for this. We will have some lights on our warehouse in proximity to this, but none are required for this pole.
None at the top of the pole?
No, and there are no requirements for such.
If I may, City Attorney, do we need to take a break? Since we are in a special use and we have people leaving?
Yes, ma'am. The council may need to take just a short minute recess since this is an evidentiary hearing and you have two people who are
Okay.
not at the dais.
So, if I may, can we take a 5-minute break and let everybody come back?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
We couldn't help it. We's over the age of 60. I did good.
All right, thank you so much for letting us have that 5-minute break.
No problem, thank you. So, Mr. Nepple, is this special use configured to minimize adverse effects, including visual impacts of the proposed use on adjacent lands?
It is in fact exactly the right piece of land for that because the visual impact of the properties that matter. Residential areas are screened by a large stand of trees, and it's unlikely that any of them will even know there's a tower there.
On Exhibit 11, what does that depict?
That depicts the view from Maloney Street, which is the neighboring residential area that was discussed by our staff. And you can see that these trees are very tall in their backyards, and that's what will screen our tower from them.
Are you familiar with Exhibit 12?
I am, sir. It is a depiction of the response to question 5, which talks about the water and air resources and wildlife habitats and so forth. As you can see, we're well above the water line, and our pole will only be embedded 11 feet. We have approximately 33 feet below that before we get to the standard wire line for the creek. The poles that we are installing won't have any kind of decking or landings on them where birds could occupy them. And this land has already been developed, so we're not creating a new large excavation here.
And what does Exhibit 13 show?
The Exhibit 13 shows the requirement for our contractor to use silt fencing as appropriate.
Is that to keep sedimentation from the
Keep
nearby stream?
any sort of sedimentation from following the water.
Okay. Does the special use maintain safe ingress and egress onto the site and safe road conditions around the site?
It does. In fact, this pole location is 330 feet from the road, and the pole's only 79 feet tall. So as I showed earlier, this depiction of the area of potential fall, it's obvious that it's not going to interfere with anything along the roads.
Okay, will the special use allow for the protection of property values and the ability of neighboring lands to develop the uses permitted in the zoning district?
It is. It's in a heavy industrial area. The surrounding area is mixed use. It's actually an ideal location for a pole of this type. In fact, when we saw this property, we knew right away that this was a place that we'd like to put it. It's certainly doesn't have any visual impact from any of the residential areas, and I think it's not going to have any negative impact on any of the other neighbors.
Okay, so overall, will the special use comply with all other relevant city, state, and federal laws and regulations, in your opinion?
It does comply with all of those laws and regulations of the city, state, and the federal government. And we have engaged a registered professional licensed engineer in the state of North Carolina to certify that, and he has done so. And all of those requirements are embodied in the design plan that we submitted for approval.
Can you turn to Exhibit 20, please?
Yes.
Is that a true and accurate copy of the improvement plans for the shelter as well as the monopole?
That is absolutely the submittal, or this is the current, after the slight variation of the location of this pole, which was requested by staff to ensure that we had no setback requirements that we were taking exception to. This is the absolute set of plans.
Okay. That's all I have for you, Mr. Nepple. Okay. Madam Mayor Pro Tem, I passed this notebook of exhibits out with the 1 through 20. I'd ask for you to admit those into evidence.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
With that, we say that, with Mr. Nepple's testimony as well as the staff comments that you have before us, that competent material and substantial evidence has been presented to warrant approval of the application. We ask that the council approve the special use permit, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're here for any questions, answer any questions if anybody has any.
Did Mr. Eddie Massengale need to speak?
He's not gonna speak.
Okay, thank you, sir. Then we have no further speakers, ma'am.
Thank you. The public hearing is now closed. So I will defer to Councilmember Ingram.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the presentation and evidence you've provided to us. I'd like to move to approve the special use permit to allow a communication tower in a HI heavy industrial district as presented by staff based on the standards of the city's development code and the evidence presented during this hearing, and that the application is consistent with the applicable plans. One, the development is located in a heavy industrial district, and two, that use complies with the findings listed, 8 findings of fact listed below, and 3, the proposed permit is in the public interest because the proposed special use permit does fit the character of the area.
Okay, I'm gonna go, I think I have 3 people that want to second that, so I'm going as the, okay. So, Councilmember Dawkins, was that a second? Okay, so that was excellent. So Councilmember Dawkins has seconded that, so now I'll open it up for discussion. So that will go to Councilmember Davis.
This question was just confirmation. So this tower is a part of the initial footprint establishment of Metronet. And what specific use of this office would this office be, in simple terms?
Yes, this tower is part of the initial deployment of the fiber optic network, and it's part of the collection of the content that we will distribute over that fiber network. And I think you're referring to the existing building and what we're going to use that for. That will be initially for our construction office, and then later on it will be for our ongoing operations and maintenance operations for the fiber optic network.
Are you good, Councilman? Okay. Councilmember Wright?
Yes, sir. I have a question for you. Based upon your presentation, I did not hear anything, and the question is 5G. Does your towers involve that in 5G?
No, sir. This tower is purely for the reception of television
It's
signals.
reception. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Haire?
I was voting Mayor Pro Tem. I was making a second of me.
Okay. All right, so are we done with discussion and ready to vote? All right, I'm sorry, let me clear the board. Okay, please put your vote. Councilmember Waddell?
Green, thank you.
Okay. Oh. Y'all, I just hit the wrong button. I apologize. Hit it one more time.
No problem.
I was getting excited because we were getting ready to go home. And that is unanimous.
So move to adjourn.
Thank you. I've got a motion to adjourn. Everybody have a happy Thanksgiving, and thank you for your patience.
You did a great job.